12. I'll try not to get emotional here. The bottom line is all of us very much appreciate those who serve in harm's way in the State Department, in the military. And when bad things happen that can cost one their life, that's sometimes just the consequence of service. But when the system breaks down and it is utter, complete failure, and nothing responsible happens to those who allowed the failure, and when we really don't know the truth about why the system's failed, then they have died in a fashion is unacceptable. So I am urging my colleagues, the Democratic leader, to form a joint select committee of the relevant committees, the Defense Armed Services Committee, the Intel Committee, the Foreign Relations Committee, and any other committee that's relevant to get to the bottom of what happened in Benghazi. I have come to conclude that this issue is not going away. It will not die out because 4 Americans lost their lives. And we have compiled an event timeline that I think does the following. The story told by Susan Rice and the President himself shortly after the attack on 16 September and for a couple of weeks later is absolutely collapsed. It is not credible. It is a fabrication. It was a manipulation of the intel 7 weeks before an election. And I think it is abundantly clear that the information coming from Libya never suggested there was a protest, identified this as a terrorist attack from the very beginning. And on 16 September, 5 days after the attack, the UN ambassador, Susan Rice, assured the nation that the consulate was substantially, significantly, and strongly secured. There's absolutely nothing in the talking points about that. Clearly that was not the case. Why did she say that? Her story about a protest caused by a hateful video being the most likely cause of the attack is not based on any facts or any reporting from Libya. And we will walk through the timeline, but the head of the CIA in Libya on 15 September sent a message, an email, a cable to the number 2, Mike Morell in the CIA in Washington, saying this was not a protest that escalated into an attack. That storyline about a protest was misleading, it was false, it was politically motivated in my view, and the number 2 at the CIA, Mike Morell's testimony before the House and the Senate is highly suspect. He testified, I think, November the 14th or 15th of 2012 to the Senate and House Intelligence Committee, and there was one episode where Mr. Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, said he did not know who changed the famous talking points. The talking points that originally identified al-Qaeda as being involved identified this as a terrorist attack that were completely changed into the protest storyline, not mentioning al-Qaeda at all. Mike Morell, in May of 2013, admitted to changing the talking points, but when Clapper said, "We don't know who changed the talking points," Mike Morell was sitting right by him and never said a word. About 10 days later, Susan Rice asked to meet with myself, Senator McCain, and Senator Ayotte to explain her side of the story. I think this is November the 24th or 25th. Can't remember the date, but Mike Morell accompanied her, and we had a meeting in the classified portion of the Capitol, the secure portion of the Capitol. And one of the first questions I asked of Mr. Morell, who changed the talking points? And he said, "We believe the FBI changed the talking points." Senator McCain asked him, Why did the CIA not know about the contents of the FBI interviews of the survivors on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of September? Why didn't the CIA pick up the phone and call the FBI agents interviewing the Benghazi survivors in Germany on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of September, days after the attack? And he said, Mike Morell, the FBI basically would not share that information because there's an ongoing criminal investigation. My mouth dropped. When the meeting was over, I ran back to my office. I called the FBI and reported to them that the number two, the acting director at that time, Mike Morell, has claimed that your agency, the FBI, changed the talking points, deleting all references to terrorism and al-Qaeda. They went ballistic. They also denied that their agents ever withheld information from the CIA because it was an ongoing criminal investigation. The FBI literally went ballistic on the phone. Hours later, we got a call from the CIA saying the acting director misspoke. We may have changed the talking points, but we don't know why. In light of this, it is now time for a joint select committee to be formed. And how can you get to the bottom of the truth of what happened in Benghazi if no one has ever talked to Susan Rice about why she said what she said? And now is the time to recall Mike Morell, to ask him questions about the validity of his testimony, the accuracy of his testimony to the Congress. There are a lot of people who think this is no big deal, apparently, particularly in the Congress on the other side. There are a lot of Americans who feel like their government has not been straightforward and honest with them about what happened at Benghazi. The role of the Congress is to provide oversight. And I will conclude with this thought. When the war in Iraq was going poorly, when Abu Ghraib became a disaster, when Guantanamo Bay tactics came exposed and they were outside of our values, Senator McCain and myself joined with Democrats to get to the bottom of it. After 9/11, the Bush administration originally did not want the 9/11 Commission to be formed. Senator McCain and Senator Lieberman led the charge. We're doing no more now than we did then. We just need willing partners. So I cannot say to any family member or anyone who served in our nation in harm's way that we know the truth about what happened in Benghazi at this stage. I can say this: we know what was told to us as a nation is not holding water, and we know that people have manipulated the facts 7 weeks before an election. During the attack, I am still not comfortable with the fact that nobody could provide help to these people for over 9 hours. Before the attack, not one person who allowed the security to deteriorate to the point it became a death trap in Benghazi, the consulate itself became a death trap, not one person has been fired. That is unacceptable. So with that, I will turn